Augments within Illuvium's PvP can be absolute game changers, literally the decision between you winning or losing rounds or even the whole match. And even if you've been here for the last 2 years, 3 years, however long, or if you're brand new here for just PvP, these augments are totally different to what they used to be. They have been fully reworked and changed, and today I'm going to go through all of the augments, tell you exactly what they mean because some can be a little bit nuanced, and then I'm going to tell you some places where you might be able to use these or where they could be really useful in battle. And I've got the team builder all loaded up, ready to go, so let's go and have a look. Here it is, guys, the team builder in all its glory. I've zoomed in as far as possible without it going like ridiculous. If you still can't read it, then you just got to listen to my voice or bring the team builder open yourself and go through it while I talk about it. I've just filtered them all for stage 3 so I don't have 3 of each one and it's all cluttered. I feel like this is the easiest way to go through and pick your augments, pick which ones you want, and then unfilter it and choose which stage you want, getting rid of the top one and then putting in the middle or the lower, depending whatever you want. It just looks a little bit cleaner and a lot easier to see what you're actually putting on rather than seeing 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So the Apex Empowerment, you gain physical attack damage or gain crit chance. This is literally, physical attack damage is, say, your close encounters, you're punching, you're scratching, you're hitting, you're directly hitting your opponent with your alluvial is mainly the ones that's physical attack. You can go in and have a look, like your Ripe Lance, your Dokar, things like that. That's who you're going to put this augment on. So it's going to be your high damage, close encounters, berserkers and fighters and things like that that are doing a physical damage to the opponent. And the crit chance is literally just upping your chances of getting a critical attack on your opponent. So it's changing your damage to 150% higher than what it is at its base rate. You can get other augments that raise the crit damage up, or crit amp as they call it in Illuvium, which means instead of 150% extra damage, it could be 180, 190, 200, depending on what the augment says. So again, this augment is really for your damage dealers, an extra crit chance for maybe those ones on your back line, or some extra physical attack for the champions that are at the front, or maybe a rogue that jumps to the back and still hits with its own character. Next up, we got a biogenic suppressor. Enemy gains 40% less healing. I know I said the number, but it kind of matters here, the percentage. It's 40% less than normal. So instead of getting 100% of the heal, it only gets 60% of the heal every time it gets healed. This is amazing if you're against a healing team or a poison team that heals every time it kills. They won't heal as much, and it's the whole team across the board. Like 40% is huge. So I think this one is a really good one to keep in your back pocket if you do come up against one of those big empath teams or something. Just drop it down and it really negates that heal massively. Or your enemy team gains 20% less energy. Every tick, it's only going to be 80% instead of 100% of what their energy regen is, which is that energy bar that's going up, and when that's full, that's when they do their Omega. That means it's going to take even longer for them to get to the Omegas and do more damage. So you could even use this on a high damage team to make sure they don't get to their Omegas as fast. Charge Capacitor is next. Gain a shield or gain energy. Pretty self-explanatory. So you run out there and you start with a shield straight off the bat. So you, instead of going straight into your health, you'll have the shield that they've got to take down first. Or you can gain extra energy, which means you're going to hit your Omega even faster. So if you start with, say, with this one, with 60, you're already 60% of the way there to get to that 100. If your character already starts with a base Omega energy, then you're even closer. You might even start at full 100%. So I think this is a really good one to really either stay alive or get an Omega off really fast. This Omega could be anyone. It could be one of your attackers that you want to get off and start their big damage fast, or maybe a Goliath or Titan or something like that, where you want their stun to go off and stun the whole board really fast. Or you could be on a tank and just give them an enormous amount of shield to start off the match. Devastation Surge is next. Gain crit amp, which is what I said before. It just ups your critical damage if you get a critical hit. You cannot crit on Omegas unless you put augment in. That specifically says now you can crit on Omegas. Omegas are standard. They do what they do, but your normal attacks can crit or gain energy attack damage. As I said before, physical is like your punching and kicking and scratching and stuff like that. Your energy damage is like your Scorioxes and your TNTs and things that attack from a distance that send out energy, fire, water, anything to your opponent from a distance. That is usually your energy attack damage. You just need to have a look at what your team is comprised of, to depending if you want to add the crit amp or add the energy attack damage. If you add that at energy attack damage to a physical attacker, it will do nothing. It's worthless. You've just wasted 40 mastery points. Next line, we have the Fortification Catalyst. Allies in a medium area gain grit, or allies in a medium area gain resolve. Grit is your resistance to physical damage, so anyone that is a close encounters attacker, it will reduce the physical damage by amount of 40 of the incoming attacks. Or allies in a medium area gain resolve, which is enemy attack damage is reduced against that enemy. So you just need to work out which alluvial is getting attacked by who, and if they're getting absolutely smashed by an energy attacker, then you put that as a resolve on your character. If they're getting smashed by a physical attacker, then you want to put the grit on them. So this is pretty much for a tank to stay alive for even longer, or it could be for one of your attackers to stay a little bit alive longer to take down the attacker. If you're doing 2 glass cannons against each other and you want to outlast your opponent, this could be a really good one to put on that, so then you know you're going to take them down because their damage is going to be severely reduced. Fusion Igniter, gain energy attack damage equal to a certain percentage of the energy cost, or gain physical attack damage equal to the certain percent of the energy cost. Your energy cost is just how much energy it takes for you to do your Omega. So if your Omega is takes ages to get there, like a ram fire with the correct energy or physical attack damage, that one's a bit weird. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it is, but if you put that on there, it's going to get 40% of how much energy it takes to cast. So it's going to be a huge amount compared to like a Ripe Lance or something that gets it up really fast. It doesn't have as high energy cost. It may not get as much benefit out of it. So this is really for those ones that take a very, very long time to get to their Omega. It means they're going to be attacking and doing more damage that whole time on the way up. So the Graviton Piercer, gain a percentage of physical and energy piercing, or gain true sight and 12% attack speed. So the physical and energy piercing, as I was talking about before with the grit and resolve, that is the damage reduction to what your character is getting dealt, whereas this physical and energy piercing is a 40% increase to the damage that they are doing through their defenses of their opponent. And it's pretty awesome. It gets physical and energy piercing, so you don't need to choose. Or you gain the true sight and 12% attack speed. Attack speed is pretty self-explanatory. It just means they attack faster. And true sight means they're immune to blind. Blind is meaning that you are going to be able to miss more attacks because you obviously can't see. So some of your attacks are going to actually miss. So this is a huge, huge card to play on one of your big attackers. You actually negate their defenses faster, or you attack faster and cannot be blind. So you just need to work out is if it's an opponent that's not going to get blinded by anyone, you could probably go for the physical or energy piercing, pending if you want attack speed for to get to their Omega faster. Like a Scoriox really gets amplified up if it gets its attack speed really fast and get to its Omega even faster. So again, this is all about where you are and choosing which one you want out of this certain character. Hyper Endurance Matrix, gain 800 max health, pretty self-explanatory, just adds 800 health to your character. Or gain physical and energy resist. This seems like it is more of a percentage base compared to Grit and Resolve is a flat stat. I'm not 100% sure what the total difference is between these two. If you do know, let me know in the comments. Actually, if I get anything wrong here, let me know in the comments. I'm still working all of these augments out 100%. And a lot of them, you read them one way, but they kind of work a different way. So if I do get anything wrong, or if there's something you want to add, let me know in the comments. I'll make a pinned comment with all the extra stuff. And then so anyone that watches this video can go down there and work it all out for themselves as well. The Hyperkinetic Stimulator. I love the names of all these. Also, the artistry on all of these augments has also been updated, and they look absolutely amazing. Gain a crit amp or gain extra attack speed. Fairly straightforward. Crit amp means you're doing more crit damage. And your attack speed, you're attacking faster. If your crit attack has also been raised, you could probably go for the crit amp, so every crit is doing more damage. The 30% attack speed is just downright more attack speed. So again, Scoriox is absolutely amazing. If you double both of those attack speeds, get 2 on there, or maybe a different one that adds attack speed as well, he will be going bonkers. The Maladaptive Resonator. Inflict clumsy and reduce target's healing by 60% or whatever percent it is for 6 seconds, or reduce target's grit and resolve by a certain amount. So grit and resolve, again, they're going to be taking more damage every time they are hit. And then clumsy just means they can't dodge. So they're going to get hit every time, and reduce their target's healing. Again, they're not going to be healed by anywhere near as much. So if you have an opponent that you're struggling to take down, that's who you'd go onto it. Something like a Titanor or even an Adorius, one of their healers, so they won't heal anywhere near as much. You can take down the healer, then you take down the rest of the team. That is a great augment for that. Nano Sequencer, heal a percentage of your max health, or gain physical and energy resist. every 4 seconds. So consistently healing, or the energy and physical resist. Again, that is just more damage reduction on your side. For a healer or someone in the front line, a tank, your Titan or Zidorius, things like that. Neogenetic Recombinator. That's a weird word. Everyone on the team gains extra maximum health, or just one alluvial gains a huge chunk of max health. This all depends on what your strategy is. If you have one massive tank in the middle that is going to be taking a lot of damage, give that the max health. If you are spreading it out across a big team, give everyone 200 max health. So I think the 200 max health for this one is by far more advantageous to use than just getting one of your alluvials high, but that's all again on your team composition and how you want to play. Omnogenic Modulator, gain crit chance or gain omega power. So your crit chance, again, you're going to be critting more, which means more damage, or gaining omega power. This means your omega is going to do more damage. This all depends on the alluvial. Is it someone that you just want a basic attack more, and they're going to be hitting their basic attack more than what their omega does for damage? Then you'll probably want the crit chance, because you want them critting a lot to get that extra 150% damage every time. If it's someone that literally all they're about is their omega, you gain that omega power, so when they do their big attack, they are just absolutely raining down hell. The one that I really think of is Ramfire. If it rains down its hell with that extra omega power, it absolutely obliterates the board. Parasitic Link, gain Omnivamp, or nearest to allies gain a certain percent of Omnivamp. Omnivamp is just like they're a vampire. They're taking a percentage of what they do in damage back as health. So those big attackers that you struggle to keep alive, this is huge. If you put this augment on them and gain 40% Omnivamp, they're taking 40% of the damage that they do back in on health. Nearly unstoppable at that point. If you're doing enough damage, you are healing yourself very fast, especially for those AoE attackers like a Seer. When it does its omega, it literally just goes back to full health nearly. It is a huge augment. The Photon Ripper, gain huge amount of crit chance or gain pure attack damage. So crit chance, again, this is a massive one, 60 crit chance. That is going really, really high. So you really need to look at these numbers if you want to really work out and min-max what you need. Obviously, this is a 40, so if you go down, it might be 20, 30, 60, or 20, 40, 60. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into it that much. And then pure attack damage literally just negates all their grit and resolve and hits them straight off the bat with no reductions at all. So that is a huge amount of damage. I'm not actually sure how often it hits with its pure attack damage or anything like that, but pure attack damage is literally hands down the best way to get the most amount of damage. It does seem like a lot of these are mainly based on getting your attack up. There is a few that do your tanks, but you just want your attackers doing more damage. So again, this is all up to you. You want crit chance. Crit does not affect your omega unless you get the right augment, which we'll come up to soon. So if they are hitting a lot and you get that crit chance up, they'll be absolutely melting your opponents. Photonic Unity. Your team gains energy, or your team gains crit amplification. So your whole team starts with extra energy at the start of the battle, or your whole team starts with extra crit. Again, bit of a muchness. If you have a big team of tanks, you'll go with the energy because it's not really about critting. If you want the crit for your whole team because you're maybe a full team of rogues, that might be worth it. Quantum Nullifier. Enemies in a medium area have their physical resist reduced by a certain amount, or enemies in a medium area have their energy resist reduced. If your front line or most of your attackers are physical dealers, then you want to do the physical resist is reduced. If you have a lot of energy damage dealers, you want the energy resist reduced. So that's again up to you, depends what your team has. The Quantum Reservoir, gain a huge percent of energy cost as shield, or gain 20 energy. So this is a big one for Titanor, that 300% of energy cost as shield. That'll be a huge shield for him. Or gain 20 energy is more for someone that you want to get their omegas off more often. So that's up to you how you want to play that one. I do like these ones that are a little bit here nor there. They could be a defensive or an attacking one. A lot of them are like a shield or HP, so it's pretty much this is an attacking augment. The Razor Assimilator. Gain physical attack damage or gain crit chance. That's pretty straightforward again for an attacker. The Reactive Deflector. Gain invulnerable for 6 seconds or gain thorns. So invulnerable means they cannot be hit for that 6 seconds. This is massive for those frontline defenders, or even someone that you want to be a scapegoat, that you don't want to die fast. You want their alluvials to head to them and really attack that alluvial while you attack them from a distance. That is a massive one. So you could put like a TNT or a really small Doka or something over to the right, All of their alluvials go over and attack him, and for the first 6 seconds they cannot do any damage to him, while you're over the other side just smashing them with Excoriax, and then you take them down before they even do any damage to Doka. And Thorns, it reflects a flat amount of pure attack damage back at the attacker. So if you have Thorns on yourself, like a Titanor or something, every time he gets attacked, he reflects back a certain percentage back onto that attacker in pure attack damage as well. That could be a huge amount of damage, especially if you do the ones that does multiple alluvials. If your whole front line has Thorns, they're just doing damage to themselves. It is such an amazing augment that can change the game. Redemption Core, gain health regen or heal by a certain amount. This doesn't happen at the start of the match. This happens when your health gets to 60%. So this all depends on how high your alluvial's health is. If it's one that has a huge amount of health, like your Titanors, you'll probably go for 4%. But if it doesn't have as much health, you can go for the 800, which is just a flat amount, which will probably be more than what that 4% is, and you go straight back up to full health. Siphon Matrix, enemies in a medium area have their energy reduced by a certain amount, or enemies in a medium area have their attack speed reduced by a certain amount. And this happens after 4 seconds. So this is really good for, again, for one of those frontliners, or if your opponent has a rogue that jumps to the back, then you can really play on them. They come close to you and boom, their energy is reduced, so they're not going to be able to do their Omega fast, or their attack speed is really reduced. Or you could be a rogue going to the back and go to one of their Adoriuses, or where they have a big circle of alluvials, and go and reduce all of their energy by 60 straight off the bat, all their attack speed. All their attackers have been really nullified. That's a pretty cool augment, to be honest. So the Surge module, gain some energy or gain some Omega power, and this happens on crit. So when you crit, you'll gain more energy or you'll gain more Omega power. This is definitely for an attacker that also has some maybe that 60 crit chance. So if you pair these two together, their energy will start going up faster and faster, or their Omega power will just go through the roof. I think I'd go with energy with the crit, because the crit doesn't affect the Omega. So I don't know, up to you, depending who you put it on. Survival Protocol, gain Indomitable for 6 seconds, or gain a shield and cleanse. This is at 10% health. Indomitable means they will not die. They're pretty much unkillable for 6 seconds, or you can gain a shield and then you cleanse any debuffs they have off them. So you get an extra 600 shield and then it cleanses anything that's on them. This is literally just to keep them alive long enough so your healers can heal them back up, and they're on the battlefield for even longer. Only 5 more, let's go! Synaptic Booster. Heal by a certain amount or gain a huge amount of attack speed for 5 seconds. This happens on an assist. Assist is if you helped another alluvial kill an alluvial, or if you're the killer, you'll also get this. If your alluvial is a massive attacker like your Scoriox or something like that, and it is getting kills consistently, whack this on there. You get an extra, if it's this one, 40% attack speed for 5 seconds. You'll probably kill another one within that 5 seconds and get another 40%. And this is huge. That extra attack speed, put it with one of those other attack speed ones, and you are going bonkers. Synergetic Field. Your team gains a huge shield, or your team gains a huge enemy. This is at the start of the battles. It's either a shield or energy for your whole team. Do you want to survive longer, or do you want your Omegas to come off faster? I think the Omegas is probably better. Techno Leecher. The enemy loses grit and resolve equal to a certain amount of energy cost, or the team loses energy equal to a certain amount of energy cost. So do you want them to be able to die faster or get hit harder, or do you not want your enemies to get to Omega faster? Temporal Safeguard. Cleanse and become immune for a few seconds, or gain a damage reduction for a few seconds. This happens on your Omega. So if it's someone on the front line, you might want to do the cleanse and immune. Like, that's huge. They've just cleansed all their debuffs. Now they can't get hit with any more debuffs. Or the extra damage reduction is huge. Again, this is just to stay alive. I feel like this is more for a tank. And then last one, the Vitality Veil. At 50% health, again, health regen and energy regen for 5 seconds, or a certain amount of seconds, or gain untargetable for a certain amount of seconds. So this is a really, really cool card. That untargetable, if your opponents have a rogue that are jumping to the back, it may be a Scoriox or something like that, you give it that untargetable. When it gets down to 50% health, they'll run away because they've got to go attack something else, because they cannot attack that Scoriox anymore. So he can be a little bit of a scapegoat for a little bit, take on some damage, and then once it goes below 50%, they run away, you start attacking. If you've got the Omni Vamp on there as well, he'll start healing himself back up. So then he'll be back at 100%, and when they get attacked or they're attacking more often, their Omega goes up faster, and then there you go. He's doing his Omega and he's absolutely taking down the opponent fast as hell. So there you have it. There is all the augments. Hopefully I've explained them really well. If you want to know any more information, let me know in the comments. So where I got a lot of my information from, because Illuvium doesn't really have all of this accessible, there's a site called Illuvium Master, and I'll bring it up right now. So as you can see here, they have a thing called the dictionary. So it goes through all of these different things. There was a few that I didn't even know, like the indomitable, clumsy, and a few others that I kind of knew what they were, but I didn't know exactly what it meant. There is a whole dictionary here that goes through all of these main things. So it's a really good third-party site to go for anything like that. There's a few other sites out there as well, Illuvidata, Illuvihub. Be on the lookout out there because there is all these other third-party websites that may have more information than the actual Illuvium website has, because they're focusing on the game rather than giving all this information to the players. But that is it. Hopefully I've explained everything to you today very well. If you're new here, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you stay, hit that subscribe, you know all the things. If you've been around for a while, thanks for supporting and continual support. You are amazing. I love you all, and I'll see you in a video soon.